My parents gave my sister $80 Kelvins for her wedding and told me, "You don't deserve help." So I cut contact and built my own life. 2 years later, she drove past my $5 million house and called mom crying, "Why does he have that?" Peace is one of those things people talk about like it's always been there. But for me, it's new. I'm 33 now. And for the first time in my life, I actually understand what peace feels like. But if you told me 2 years ago I'd be sitting inside a $5 million home on a quiet street, far away from my family, I would have laughed in your face. Back then, I was still doing everything I could to earn something I didn't realize I never needed, my parents' approval. My name's Noah, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's the best kind of revenge. Growing up, my family was complicated. My sister Emma and I couldn't have been more different if we tried. She was sunshine loud, radiant, charming, and my parents adored her for it. Me? I was the quiet one. The kid who took apart computers instead of going out, who read at dinner while everyone else was laughing. I used to joke that if Emma was their sunshine, I must have been the cloud. It stopped being funny the day I realized they actually believed it. See, Emma could do no wrong. When she wanted ballet lessons, she got a private tutor. When I asked to join a robotics club, my parents said it was too expensive and wouldn't lead anywhere. She got a car at 17. I got a bus pass. And it wasn't jealousy at first, honestly. It was confusion. I just didn't understand why love in my family felt so uneven. So I worked harder, straight A's, full scholarship, graduated early. I thought maybe then they'd finally see me. But the first thing my mom said when I told her was, "Good, that means you can start paying your own bills sooner." That sentence, it didn't just sting, it echoed. It became the soundtrack of my 20s. Every call home was the same. Emma got celebration, I got obligation. But here's where things start to get interesting. When Emma got engaged at 26, my parents went all in. Huge engagement party, catered food, a photographer, decorations, the works. A few weeks earlier, I told them I got promoted to senior developer. My dad's response? Don't get comfortable. Companies replace people all the time. That right there told me everything I needed to know. And I wish that was the worst part, but it wasn't. As kids, Emma was the light everyone gathered around, and I was just orbiting her, the quiet satellite. If she sneezed, my parents worried she had the flu. If I got sick, they told me to drink water and stop complaining. It wasn't abuse, it was indifference. And honestly, indifference cuts deeper than anger ever will. Emma loved attention, and she was good at earning it. School plays, she was the lead. Family dinners, she had stories for everyone, jokes that made my parents tear up from laughter. And I'd sit there smiling, pretending I didn't mind being invisible. But inside, I kept asking myself, asterisk, what do I have to do for them to see me? Asterisk. That question haunted me for years. When Emma got her first car, our parents called it a reward for being such a good daughter. When I asked about one, my dad said, "You don't go out much anyway. What's the point?" Every gift to her had meaning. Every excuse for me had logic. And like an idiot, I thought maybe if I became someone impressive, someone they had times to acknowledge it would change. So I became that person. Straight A student, top of my class, computer prodigy before it was cool. I won coding competitions, got featured in the local paper. My parents didn't even show up to the awards ceremony. Mom said Emma wasn't feeling well that day, and family comes first. The irony wasn't lost on me. By the time college ended, I had learned something harsh but true. The love wasn't something I could earn. It was conditional. It depended on being the kind of child they understood, and that wasn't me. But I still tried. Part of me refused to give up hope. I kept visiting, calling, checking in on birthdays. I thought time would smooth things out. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Because when I thought I was finally becoming someone they could be proud of, they found a whole new way to remind me of where I stood. And that moment, the one that finally broke the illusion, came wrapped in lace, champagne, and an $80,000 check. The moment that finally shattered whatever hope I had came when I found out about Emma's wedding, it wasn't just the fact that they were throwing this huge extravagant celebration. It was the price tag that caught me off guard. $80,000. $80,000 on a wedding. I remember walking into the kitchen and seeing Dad hunched over the table with a calculator and piles of receipts, floral arrangements, deposits, catering, just numbers and paper everywhere. When I asked, "You really giving her 80 grand for this wedding?" Mom looked up like it was the most normal thing in the world and said, "Of course, she deserves it. It's her big day." And then I half joked, "What about me?" Her face shifted, the smile faded, and she said something that stuck with me like a splinter in my mind. "Noah, you don't need help. You're single. You don't even like parties. You've always been fine on your own." Those words didn't feel like comfort. They felt like an erasure, as if I'd quietly been written out of my own family story. I didn't argue. I didn't shout or cry. I just sat there, numb and confused, wondering how I ended up so invisible. You won't believe what happened next. Over the next few months, I tried to bury the feeling. I told myself it wasn't about money or gifts, that love couldn't be bought, and that maybe Emma deserved her fairy tale. But then the photos came. The white roses, chandeliers, perfectly dressed guests, all smiles and laughter. And me? I was invited to the rehearsal dinner. My name wasn't mentioned once during the speeches. I later learned from a friend that my parents said I couldn't come because I was too busy with work, which wasn't true. I was home staring at my ceiling. That was the moment I stopped calling. I skipped Christmas that year. I sent one text, "Hope everyone's well." And then I focused on my job. I buried my frustration in late nights and endless caffeine. I didn't let the hurt win. I pushed harder than ever before, and it started to pay off. I climbed the ladder faster than anyone expected. When my company got acquired by a tech giant, I got a payout that changed everything for me overnight. Not generational wealth, but enough to rewrite my story. Then Maya came along, a real estate agent with a sharp wit who saw through my anger and bitterness. She believed in me without conditions, and for the first time I believed in myself. When we bought our first modest home, I told her about my family and what I'd been through. She said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. "You keep trying to buy their love, Noah. Maybe it's time you invest in yourself instead." That honestly changed everything. So that's what I did. I stopped chasing what I could never have. I focused on building my own life, my own success, my own happiness, and most importantly, my own peace. I started a small software consultancy. It was just me and a few people I trusted. Then something incredible happened. Within a year, it exploded. Clients from all over the world, contracts worth more than I ever imagined. It was everything my parents never believed I could achieve. And guess what? No calls, no visits, no congratulations. I kept my distance. I told myself that was the healthy thing to do. No more guilt trips, no more being the family scapegoat, just quiet success on my own terms. But then, out of nowhere, the peace I'd built started to crack. 2 years after Emma's wedding, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Mom. "Hey Noah, please call me when you can. It's important." I stared at my phone, waiting, wondering if I should answer. Something about that message felt like a trap, like the polite tone she only used when she needed something. Against my better judgment, I called. Mom's voice was shaky. "Did you buy a new house?" I blinked. "Yeah? How do you know?" There was a long pause, then a muffled sound like she was covering the phone and trying to steady herself. "Your sister drove by. She said, 'It's big, Noah. Really big.' She said it's worth 5 million." I could almost picture it, Emma's car, slowing down in front of my gate, her hand flying to her mouth, the shock setting in. Mom called me crying, asking why I had that and how it could be fair. That's when she dropped the guilt bomb. "You know, it's not nice to flaunt your money like that. Your sister's been struggling since the baby came. Maybe you could help her out a little. She's your only sister after all." There it was, the same tired script I'd heard my whole life. Emma gets the sympathy and I get the guilt trip. I said calmly, "Mom, you told me I didn't deserve help. Remember?" Her silence was deafening. That's when I realized family betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, a lifetime of little dismissals piling up until they form an unbreakable wall. But I stayed on the line. waiting for the moment the mask would slip. And it did. That's when she said the sentence that changed everything, and everything started to unravel. I reached a point where I needed to say enough. Boundaries weren't just a line in the sand anymore, they were walls I had to build around my heart. The moment of truth came when Mom showed up at my gate unannounced, wearing that floral dress like she was strolling over for Sunday brunch. I didn't expect her, and I wasn't sure what she wanted. She smiled like everything was normal. "I just wanted to see you," she said, glancing past me at the house. "It's beautiful, Noah. You've really done well for yourself." I said thanks, but stayed careful, watching her every word. Then her tone shifted. "Emma drove by a few days ago. She was crying for hours. She doesn't understand why things ended up like this, how her brother got everything and she got left behind." I stayed silent, let her fill the space. Mom took a deep breath and softened. "You don't have to give her money. Just talk to her. Let her see inside. She feels like you're punishing her by shutting her out." I laughed. Not the kind of laugh that means everything's fine, but the kind that says, asterisk, "You think I'm the bad guy. Asterisk." Mom, she called me arrogant, said I only made money because I got lucky. She made her bed, not me. Her voice rose. "You think you're above us now? We raised you. We made sacrifices for you." I stepped forward, voice steady. "No, you raised Emma. You tolerated me." Her face went tight, like I'd said the worst thing possible. "You don't mean that," she whispered. But I meant every word. Before she left, she warned me. "You'll regret this one day. Family is all you have." I watched her disappear down the street. No guilt, no sadness, just quiet. It was over, or at least I thought so. Just when I thought I could finally catch my breath, the storm came crashing back. A few days later, I got an email from Jacob, Emma's husband. The subject line was blunt. Asterisk. "You owe us an explanation. Asterisk." At first I thought it was spam, but I recognized his name and address. The email started polite, almost formal. "Noah, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. This situation has gone too far." As I scrolled down, the tone shifted. Emma had been crying every night, feeling betrayed and humiliated. My parents were heartbroken, and they all felt I'd turned my back on them. The message painted me as the villain living large, while my family struggled, refusing to help, cruel and selfish. Paragraph after paragraph of guilt-tripping nonsense. But one line captured my blood. Asterisk. "If you don't want to help willingly, don't make it worse by lying about us." Asterisk. What lies? I hadn't spoken about them to anyone except Maya, and never exaggerated. Then the last paragraph, through the real threat. "Consider this your last chance to make things right before we take it further." I sat back, heart racing. Asterisk. Take it further. Asterisk. What did that even mean? Maya saw the look on my face and asked quietly, "You okay?" I handed her the phone. She read the email silently and told me, "This isn't guilt-tripping anymore. It's a threat." And I had a bad feeling about what further meant. 2 days later, the nightmare began. I woke up to a flood of notifications, texts, emails, missed calls from colleagues, clients, and partners. One message stood out. Asterisk. "Hey Noah, saw some weird stuff on Facebook this morning. Is everything okay?" Asterisk. Facebook? I barely used it. My hands shook as I opened the app. The first thing I saw was a post from Emma, a long, emotional rant full of half-truths and twisted stories. She accused me publicly of turning my back on my family, flaunting my wealth, and refusing to help her baby nephew. Attached were photos, my house, my car, and a screenshot of an old text I'd sent years ago. "Someday I'll make enough that I won't have to ask for anything from anyone ever again." Out of context, it looked arrogant. The post had over 100 likes and dozens of comments, some sympathetic, many cruel. I just sat there, throat tight and heart sinking. Maya put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Noah, we can report this. You don't have to respond." But that was only the beginning. Later that day, I found out Emma had emailed my company, partners, and clients. She claimed I was under investigation for financial misconduct. The web of lies spun faster than I could react. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a family drama anymore. It was war. After the storm of accusations and public attacks, I sat alone, trying to make sense of it all. The emails, the Facebook posts, the hateful comments, they weighed on me, but what hit hardest was the feeling of betrayal. Not just from Emma or my parents, but from a lifetime of being invisible, overlooked, and expected to keep silent. It was like living under a shadow where no matter how brightly I shined, the light only made the darkness bigger. I kept replaying everything in my mind: the missed calls, the dismissive words, the way my family had conditioned me to think my worth wasn't enough. Their love had always come with an invisible price tag, and now I was being punished for finally breaking free from it. But even as I sat with the anger and hurt, a new determination began to grow. I knew I couldn't let them win, not like this. If this was war, I wasn't going to be a silent casualty. I wanted to reclaim my story and my dignity, not just for me, but for anyone who's ever been pushed aside or told they don't matter. There was one thing Maya said that stuck with me. You've built this success on your terms, Noah. Now it's time to defend it just like you earned it. The irony wasn't lost on me. From trying to prove my worth to my family to now having to defend everything I had built against the people who should have believed in me the most. But I wasn't reckless. I knew the battle ahead wouldn't be won with anger alone. I started gathering evidence, texts, emails, financial records, anything that could support the truth of my journey and disprove the lies being spread. And while the scars of family hurt would never fully fade, I realized I had something far stronger now: control. Control over my life, my narrative, and my peace. I wasn't done yet. This wasn't just about retaliation. It was about setting boundaries that no one could cross again, and showing that sometimes walking away is the hardest but most powerful choice you can make. As the dust began to settle from the chaos, I found myself at a crossroads. The people who should have been my biggest supporters had turned into my greatest critics, and for once I knew I couldn't depend on them to define my happiness or success. So I made a decision to keep moving forward without looking back. Maya and I started focusing on new projects, expanding the business, and building a life filled with people who truly cared. We surrounded ourselves with friends and colleagues who celebrated the hard work behind the success instead of casting judgment based on bloodlines or family drama. I even started speaking out quietly at first, sharing my story with close friends and mentors. It felt liberating to own my truth without shame or apology. And while I don't expect my family to suddenly change, I've found peace in knowing I'm not the problem. The problem was always the expectation that love and support were conditional. This new chapter isn't about revenge or bitterness anymore. It's about healing, growth, and the quiet confidence that comes from living life on your own terms. And who knows, maybe someday we'll find a way to rebuild what was broken. But for now, I'm done fighting shadows. I'm finally free. Living with this kind of family fracture is like carrying a weight you can't set down. The memories, the words, the silences, they linger in the back of your mind, whispering doubts and second guessing every step you take. But with time, you learn something important. Strength isn't about having everyone love you, it's about loving yourself when the people who should do it don't. After everything that happened, the wedding, the cold dismissal, the guilt trips, and the public attacks, I reached a turning point. I realized that the power to heal and move forward rested entirely with me. I couldn't wait for my family to change or seek their approval anymore. That chapter was closed, and it was time to focus on what I could control. That meant investing more in myself, my relationship with Maya, and the business we were building together. I embraced the successes that once felt hollow because they weren't shared with people who mattered. Now, those wins were mine, authentic and unshadowed by blame or self doubt. Maya's support was critical. She never pressured me to forgive or forget before I was ready. Instead, she helped me create boundaries, teaching me that saying no isn't selfish, it's necessary for survival. With her, I found balance, laughter, and trust that didn't come with conditions. I also started reconnecting with old passions that had fallen by the wayside, things that reminded me who I was outside the family narrative. Volunteering, mentoring young coders, even taking classes in things I enjoyed but had shelved for years, those moments grounded me, reminding me that my worth wasn't tied to a family's approval or money. There were days when the guilt crept in, those quiet nights, when all the what ifs came rushing back, but I learned to push those thoughts away, replacing them with affirmations and the truth that I was enough just as I was. One of the hardest lessons is accepting that some bridges can't be rebuilt. I've made peace with that. Not everyone deserves a second chance, and sometimes the greatest act of love is protecting yourself from ongoing harm. This story isn't just mine, it's for anyone who's ever felt unseen, undervalued, or rejected by the very people who were supposed to love them most. If you're listening and carrying that weight, I want you to know you're not alone. It's okay to walk away from toxic ties. It's okay to build a life defined by respect, kindness, and genuine connection. As for me, I'm looking ahead. I've learned that success isn't about the flashy house or the money in your bank account. It's about peace of mind, the freedom to be yourself, and the strength to write your own story. No matter what happens next with my family, I know one thing for sure. I'm done waiting for their approval. I'm finally living for me, and that makes all the difference. Sometimes the most difficult battles are the ones we fight within our own families. It's a strange kind of pain, quiet, complicated, and wrapped up in the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. This story isn't just about money or success. It's about recognition, respect, and finally finding peace beyond the tangled web of expectations and disappointments. Noah's journey shows how sometimes the hardest but healthiest choice is to walk away, not out of anger or bitterness, but out of self respect. When the people who are meant to be your biggest supporters become the ones who tear you down, there comes a moment when you decide to stop trying to earn their approval and start building your own life on your own terms. It's a reminder that family isn't always defined by blood or tradition. Real family is about who shows up for you, supports you genuinely, and celebrates your victories without conditions. For Noah, the road wasn't easy. It meant facing rejection, enduring emotional manipulation, and eventually learning to set firm boundaries. It meant discovering love and support outside of the family he was born into, like the relationship with Maya, and investing in a future that wasn't tied to old wounds. His story also highlights the toxic nature of conditional love, the idea that your worth can be measured by money, success, or the milestones you hit according to someone else's checklist. And it shows that true peace comes not from pleasing others, but from accepting yourself. If there's one takeaway here, it's that peace and self worth are priceless. They can't be bought, bargained for, or forced into being by anyone else. Noah's decision to focus on his own happiness, to protect his mental and emotional health, and to create a life he's proud of is something we can all admire and learn from. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't winning an argument or proving someone wrong. It's simply living your best life quietly and unapologetically. And while the story leaves us wondering about what will happen next, about the strained family ties and the possible fallout, the ending feels hopeful. It's a story of strength and healing, and a reminder that even when you're pushed away, you can still choose where you belong. If Noah's story resonated with you, you're not alone. Many people experience family struggles that test their patience, self worth, and boundaries. Walking away isn't easy. It takes courage, strength, and sometimes a lot of healing. But never forget, your peace and happiness matter just as much as anyone else's. If you're going through something similar, remember this: it's okay to prioritize yourself. It's okay to say no to relationships that hurt more than they heal. And it's okay to seek support, whether from friends, partners, or professional help. Now, if you enjoyed hearing Noah's story told this way, here's what you can do next. One, asterisk, asterisk, like this video, asterisk, asterisk. If stories about real family struggles and personal growth inspire you, it really helps our community grow and reach others who might need to hear this too. Two, asterisk, asterisk, subscribe to the channel. Asterisk, asterisk, if you haven't already. I share stories like this one regularly, real, raw, and meaningful tales from Reddit that remind us of the power of resilience and hope. 3. Asterisk, asterisk. Hit the notification bell, asterisk, asterisk, so you never miss a new story. Every week, we dive into stories full of emotion, drama, and lessons you can take with you. 4. Asterisk, asterisk. Share your thoughts in the comments. Asterisk, asterisk. Have you ever experienced a similar situation? How did you handle it? Your experiences and advice could make a huge difference for someone else watching. 5. If you want to support the channel, check out the links below for ways to contribute. Every bit helps me keep bringing these stories to life with the care and attention they deserve. Thank you for being part of this community where stories matter and voices are heard. Noah's journey wasn't easy, but thanks to listeners like you, it feels a little less lonely. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and your story isn't over yet.